All right, welcome to today's class on Dotloop 101. Again, we'll be going over a little bit of more of the basic side of Dotloop. Okay, how to get into your Dotloop account. What is a loop? Why should you be using Dotloop? Okay, we'll be going over how to access blank forms from your Dotloop account, how to create a new loop, how to prepare a document and send it to send it to your clients to be able to electronically sign. So Dotloop is a really cool piece of software that you'll definitely be using a lot in your transactions. Right, and where you'll actually go to access your Dotloop account is through mykw.kw.com. Here, I'll start from the beginning here so we can all log in together in case this is your first time. All right, so we are going to mykw.kw.com. And this is what the login screen is going to look like on my screen here. All right, so you'll want to put in your myKW username. Usually that's something like your first initial, last name, and maybe a number. Your username is not case sensitive for myKW, however your password is. All right, so hopefully you have your myKW username and password, and you can go ahead and plug that in to log in. All right, and logging into mykw.kw.com is where you're going to find all of your online tools for KW, okay, including your Dotloop account. All right, so when you log into myKW, you'll want to pay attention to this e-edge control panel box on the top center of your screen. So that'll hold all of your online tools, all right, the main place to check out. All right, where we're going to go for Dotloop specifically, you'll notice right here on this top right of the e-edge control panel box, it has myTransactions. All right, so you'll see in here Dotloop referred to as myTransactions and Dotloop interchangeably, okay, not to be confusing. All right, so in myKW, you'll see myTransactions here, and you'll just simply want to click on the blue Start My Transactions link right under it. Again, go ahead and click on Start My Transactions right on this e-edge control panel box. And ideally, that will take you right into your Dotloop account without further password. Okay, so that should take you right into your Dotloop account. It should not prompt you to log in. If it does prompt you to log in, no worries. Go ahead and put in your Dotloop password. Okay, it should be a one-time thing. However, when you log into your Dotloop account, so by clicking on that Start My Transactions, you should see your Dotloop account right away. Now, things to know on here. The biggest thing to know, you'll want to make sure that it says Premium on the top left of your Dotloop account. And typically it's going to be a black and red that your Dotloop account is. When you want to be concerned is if your Dotloop account is a light blue. If it's a light blue, that means you're not connected to your Market Center and you don't have access to all of your Market Center forms. If that is the case for your account, if you are seeing a light blue Dotloop account, feel free to go ahead and email support@scottleroymarketing.com and we can go ahead and fix that up for you. Again, if your Dotloop account is a light blue and you do not see premium on the top left, make sure to go ahead and email support@scottleroymarketing.com and we can get that fixed up for you right away. So coming into your Dotloop account, and if you're still working on getting here, I'll give you a quick second to get here. So I can tell you a little bit about what Dotloop is. So Dotloop is going to be your online filing cabinet. All right, so when I say that you're going to have a bunch of loops in here, what I mean is an online file. All right, so you're going to create a loop per property that you sell. So for example, if you're representing a client who is selling their home with you and buying the next home, that's going to be two different loops because it's two different properties. Okay, so you want to store all of your documents in your Dotloop account here. And of course, we'll take a look at how you'll go about doing that. But to start off, I want to take you on a little tour around your Dotloop account, especially if this is your first time in. So let's start with these icons on the top right of your Dotloop account on this top black toolbar. You'll notice that if you hover your mouse over any one of these icons on this top black toolbar, it pops up telling you what that icon does. So this first icon on the top right black toolbar, if I hover my mouse over it, it tells me it's my dashboard. So that'll give me all of my statistics for my loops. Okay, how many loops I sold this year, okay, loops created and so forth, year-to-date sales. Okay, so this dashboard right here will show you statistics in your Dotloop account. Moving on over to the right, this smiley face icon, okay, I think it looks like a smiley face with no eyes. Okay, so it's a loop icon. And this is an icon that you'll use very often. So if you're ever lost in your Dotloop account or just need to get back home, so we're on the Dotloop home screen now, this loops icon right here will always take you home. So this one will come in very handy. And moving on over to the right here, you'll see this check mark icon that shows your tasks. So your tasks, what you can do is you can create to-do lists for yourself in each and every loop that you create, letting you know the items you need to do for that transaction specifically. So this task icon right here will show you an overarching view of all the tasks that you have to do in all of your loops. So it's kind of an overview of all of your tasks on your to-do list. Moving to the right, we're on our people icon. So if I were to click there, it would show me all of the contacts I had ever worked with in my loops. So that would be every client I had ever added to my transactions, maybe other agents I've added to loops. So anyone you've worked with on a loop will be in this people section here. I have this templates icon here, also a super important icon, and we'll be going into this in just a moment here. So this templates icon looks like 2 sheets of paper. That's going to give you all of your blank forms. Okay, so every single form that you need for your transaction can be found in this templates section. Again, we'll be starting class here in just a moment. But where I want to actually begin is if you put your mouse one icon over, okay? I have my headshot in here, but if you don't have your headshot, it would just be your initials on the top right. All right, so if you hover your mouse there, there's a couple important things to note. So first of all, your member ID. Please make sure to write down your member ID or remember where we're grabbing this from. If you were to call Dotloop support, right, it'll prompt you for your member ID, and if you put that member ID in, since you're a premium member with Keller Williams, it'll put you to the very front of the support line. So it'll skip the whole support line and put you to the very front. So it's obviously a really great thing to note, this member ID. It's on the bottom of every page in your Dotloop account, along with the Dotloop support number, and I'll show you that in just a moment. All right, but we do want to remember our Dotloop member ID. Okay, I know where to find that. If you are an agent in multiple market centers, you might see a couple different profiles displaying here, as you see on my screen. All right, so if you are in 2 different market centers actively or transferring, you can click on the other profiles to view your other loops and those other Dotloop profiles right away. So if you could go ahead and click on My Account from this dropdown. We're going to do a little housekeeping to get started. So again, hover your mouse either over your initials or your headshot on the very top right black toolbar, and let's go ahead and click on My Account from that dropdown. All right, so we clicked on My Account from this dropdown here. And we're going to do a little housekeeping, as I said. So what's really awesome about this My Account section and why this is so worth your time here is this will prompt you for all of your personal contact information. Okay, and it says right here that contact information will be used to autofill loops and documents when possible. So meaning anywhere on, let's say, a listing agreement that the listing agent's information is required, it will auto-populate all of your information, your name, your phone number, your fax number, email address, so forth, onto those forms so you don't have to type it in every time. So already that is saving you time. So let's go ahead and make sure all of this information is correct. So first of all, obviously we want to make sure our first and last name is correct. That's a good start. All right, your email address right here. Please do take note of your Dotloop email address. This is super important if you are having another agent who uses Dotloop share a form with you. Okay, that agent will need to share that form to your Dotloop email address specifically. Okay, so if you're ever asking another agent to share a form with you in Dotloop, you'll want to give them your email address, this Dotloop email address here. So just make sure to note that. Our phone number and fax number, if that's not in there already, go ahead and take a couple seconds to put in your phone number and your fax number if you have one. All right, moving down this little column here. So e-sign name and e-sign initials. So this is how it's going to pop up when you sign a document. All right, so if you want your middle name in there or you do not want your middle name, all right, you can adjust this. This is how it'll automatically sign the documents for you. All right, we want our company name, right? Whether you put Keller Williams Realty or Keller Williams Realty dash your brokerage name, like Keller Williams Ballantyne or Keller Williams Fort Mill. Okay, you can do it either way. If you're not sure which to put, feel free to ask your broker if they have a specific way they'd like you to list that. And our job title. Okay, so if you go by broker/realtor or salesperson, I know it's a little different depending on which region you're in. And so however you want your job title to display there. All right, we're going to keep going down this list here. We'll come back to your headshot, so hang tight on that, but we will come back to that. For now, let's go ahead and scroll down to the bottom of the page so we can put in our address. All right, so go ahead and put in your office address here. Again, not your personal address. This will want to be your office address. Again, I just scrolled to the very bottom of this My Account page. If you're not sure of what your office address is, you can Google it. Google tends to know all. So feel free to Google your office address and you can put that in right away here. I'll give you a second to go ahead and do that. Hang tight one second while you guys are filling that in. I got an odd message here. And make sure everyone can see me. If you cannot hear me or see my screen, please feel free to shoot me a message so I know. Hopefully everyone can see me. So just hang on one second. All right, looks all good to go on my end, but again, if you can't see me or hear me, feel free to let me know and I can try and fix that up. All right. Okay, so if you can scroll back up to the top, again, hopefully you filled in your address now. And if you can scroll back up to the top here, we're gonna go ahead and put in our headshot. All right, it is super important to put in your headshot into your Dotloop account. All right, your clients are going to be signing legal documents, so they're going to feel a lot more comfortable if they see a familiar face when signing these legal documents to know that this is legitimate, what they're signing. So I believe it says something like add headshot here. I know I already have one. All right, so you can click whatever the red button here says to go ahead and add your headshot in. All right, browse your computer to pull that in. If you have not gotten your headshot yet, no worries at all. You can always come back at any time to add in your headshot. Also, a good tip, if you do have your headshot and haven't sent it to support@scottleroymarketing.com, feel free to do so. We take your headshot and put it in about 6 different spots within your KW technology. All right, so it's always handy to send that over to us, again, to support@scottleroymarketing.com. We'll put that on all your websites, your agent profile, mobile app, and of course your Dotloop account. So if you think that's easier, feel free to just send that over. All right, and I'll give you a couple more seconds here to add in your headshot. Now don't forget, I forgot to mention we were at the very bottom of the screen. Do make sure to click save on the bottom of the screen here. I know I didn't say that when we were down here. So let me say that one more time. Make sure to click save. We want to save all of this awesome work that you guys did. All right, and when I click save on the very bottom, it gives me this lovely yellow bar here that says contact information updated successfully. Okay, whenever you save anything in Dotloop, it does give you that yellow bar to confirm it's been saved. It makes me feel a little better knowing all that work will stay. So feel free to look for that. And again, I'm just going to say it one more time. Make sure you click save on the very bottom right. And once you've done that, let's go ahead and click on profiles on the left-hand side. So I'm in profiles. You'll see a bunch of red options on the left-hand side, and you'll want to click on the profiles option. Okay, we're just going to do a little more housekeeping here. All right, this will make your lives a lot easier when we start pulling in forms because it'll auto-populate all of your information. Now, since we click profiles on the left-hand side, and if you're an agent in multiple market centers, you will have several different profiles here. So just make sure you're selecting the one that you're trying to work out of. All right, we will want to make sure that our phone number and our fax number here is correct. If it's not already entered in, feel free to take a second and add in your phone number and fax number one more time. As we scroll down to this profile details section, so the next little section down, the main thing that you'll want to put in here is the agent license number. Okay, typically license numbers are a long strand of a bunch of numbers that are pretty hard to remember, especially when you're starting out. So here's a solution. You don't have to remember it every time you pull up a form. If you add your license number here, it will auto-populate that information onto every form you bring into your Dotloop. Okay, so again, we want that an agent license number, okay? The broker license number would be for your broker in charge. All right, so make sure to put that in for your agent license number on the right side. All right, and the last little section we'll want to fill in, if you could go ahead and scroll down, and if you're still looking up your license number, go for it. But if you could go ahead and scroll down and fill in this company information, for whatever reason it does prompt you to put in your office address one more time. So if you didn't have it memorized before, well, there you go, this probably helps. So make sure for the company name, if you want to put in Keller Williams Realty or Keller Williams Realty dash your brokerage name. So in this section, we'll want to put in our company name and the address. Feel free to keep working on that, but if you scroll down, I just want to point out this is where you can toggle your notification settings right here. So I do recommend leaving all of these checked to start off. All right, this will adjust if you want to get an email when someone signs a document, right? Or if a document is shared, signed, or if your signature is required. So obviously these are very important things that you want to be notified about. So I recommend leaving these checked, but if it ever gets a little overwhelming with the amount of emails you're receiving from Dotloop, you can adjust that here. And let's go ahead and click that big red save button on the bottom right. All right, so I'm clicking save on the bottom right, and I get that awesome yellow bar that says my profile details are saved successfully. Okay, I always like to see that yellow bar. And let's scroll up to the very, very top of your screen again, and we're doing one last thing in this My Account section before we move into your forms. So if you could go ahead and scroll to the very top of your screen here and click on Document Preferences on the left-hand side in red. So again, don't forget to click Save on the bottom right, and then scroll to the top and click Document Preferences on the left-hand side in red. All right, so these document preferences, this controls exactly how your font shows up off default when you're typing in forms in Dotloop. Okay, so you can control the font here. Okay, the font style, if you want to make it bold, to make it stick out more. The font color, okay, the forms are obviously mostly written in black. So if you change that to blue, it might make your typing stand out a little more. And you can also change the font size all the way up to 13 if you think it's a little small. Okay, so these default settings are entirely up to you. Okay, you can see a preview of your changes right under it with this weird little line it has. Why it used that, no idea. But you can see preview your changes right here. All right, and it'll stick automatically. There is no save button. All right, so where we did all that, if you can't remember how we got into this whole section, is hovering over either, hopefully it's your headshot now, if we added that in, either your headshot or your initials on the top right, and clicking on My Account from that drop-down. So where I want to start next is in this templates section. All right, so this is the icon that looks like 2 sheets of paper on the top right black toolbar. And those are all of your blank forms. So let's go ahead and click on the icon that looks like 2 sheets of paper. And if I hover my mouse over it, it does tell me it's the templates. You will see this icon in several other locations within your Dotloop account. So take a mental screenshot of this templates icon so we can tie this all back together. So once I click on that templates icon on the top, it'll take me to all of my blank forms. Now, I don't want you to be alarmed. My screen will look different than yours, okay? All of these forms and form sets are added in here by your office staff. So I'm in the Keller Williams Ballantyne area Market Center forms, so that's where my forms are pulling from, okay? But yours will look different, and that's totally normal, totally fine. Things to know on this back end. So on the left-hand side, you'll see a bunch of form sets or form folders. So scroll through these form sets on the left-hand side in red and click around a little bit. You can't break anything, guys. So the best way to learn Dotloop and all of your KW technology is just kind of to click around. Okay, anything you think you break, we can help you fix, so no worries. All right, so click around on these form sets on the left-hand side. All right, so what I'm going to show you now is how to print off a blank form using Dotloop. So what you'll run into sometimes is, let's say you don't like technology all that much. I totally get it, right? Or if your clients are not too fond of electronic signatures, you'll run into some clients who don't feel comfortable with it. And that's totally fine, and you can use Dotloop to simply print out a blank form and bring it on your appointment so you can explain the document to them as they sit next to you, and they can hand sign it next to you. So let me show you, it's about 4 steps of what you need to do to print out a blank form so you can bring these on your appointment with you. So of course, first we started off in this template section on this top black toolbar, the icon that looks like 2 sheets of paper. Once we get in this template section, step 1 is I'm going to select a form set from the left-hand side in red. So I'm going to be looking for a listing agreement in this example. So I select a form set on the left-hand side. I can then use this red search bar at the top of my screen to search for the form I'm looking for. So I'll want to click on the word search here. And I'm going to type in the word listing. When I search for the word listing, it'll pull up all the forms that have the word listing in the title. The next step that you'll want to do is once I find my listing agreement, so here it is, I see my listing agreement, and I know your listing agreement might be called something slightly different. No worries, again, that's normal. I'm using North Carolina forms. Once you find the form that you need, you'll simply click the 3 drop-down dots on the far right-hand side to click to download that form. What that will do is pull the form outside of the system and pull it up on your computer as a PDF so that you can print out the document and bring it on your appointment with you. Okay, so again, that was about 4 steps here, if I can count. So let me quickly overview that just to make sure you guys got that. So step 1, we click the form set that we want on the left-hand side in red. Step 2, we search for the form that we want. Okay, you can either search by the form name or the form number. Step 3 is we click the 3 drop-down dots for more options to the very right of the form name. And step 4 is we click to download the form. And again, that'll pull it up on your computer as a PDF, so we can simply click print and bring it with us on our appointment. So that is how you can go about printing off blank documents from your Dotloop account. All right, however, the whole point of Dotloop is to be able to type up your forms, send them off to your clients, and have them click to electronically sign it. Talk about making your life easier, especially if your clients go on vacation in the middle of their transaction and need to sign something from afar. So let's take a look at how to start a loop and bring a form in to get that electronically signed. So let's go ahead and click on this loops icon. Again, it's a smiley face with no eyes. That icon cracks me up every time. All right, so let's click on this loops icon to get back to our loop homepage. Again, that is a very important icon to remember. It'll always take you back home. All right, and you should see this grid view. So I'm going to be teaching class today from this grid view right here. So if your home screen looks like mine, great. Go ahead and hold for just a second while I catch everyone else up. So if you're looking at your Dotloop account like I am, you're good to go. Okay, if your view looks like this, okay, if your Dotloop homepage has a list view here, that can be toggled back and forth on the very top right on this white toolbar. It's a red circle that you can switch back and forth between your Dotloop homepage view. Right, it's totally up to you which view you'd like to use. However, I'm going to teach class in this grid view. Okay, and if this is your first time in your Dotloop account and you have not created a loop yet, you might not have this option quite yet. No worries, that is also normal. I've seen that a whole bunch. All right, but I am going to toggle to this grid view, so if you want to follow along, feel free to toggle that on the top right, again, that red circle here. And as you may have guessed, we're going to start a new loop by simply clicking this big red plus sign in the middle of your screen. Sorry, went a little fast. So if you click on this big red plus sign on your screen, that will start a new loop. And again, when I say start a new loop, I mean start an online file. So it'll prompt you here to create a loop. And hold tight, follow along with me on this part just so I don't lose you at all. So first of all, it says name your new loop. So if at all possible, we want to name it the property address. All right, so that's how Dotloop works the best. I realize if you're representing a buyer, you won't know the property address out the gate. No worries. All right, I'll show you how to change that. So let's go ahead, if you want to name it 123 Practice Loop or 123 Main Street or maybe your home address, go ahead and name your loop something. Okay, you'll notice when I start to type in the loop name, it does start giving me suggestions. Okay, it's pulling that address from Google or other files in Dotloop. Okay, you can always click one from there if you'd like to, but for now, let's just not. All right, keep typing in the address and those will go away. All right, there are also templates underneath here, underneath the address that you might be required to select when you're creating a new loop. It totally depends on your market center. All right, so take a look at those templates. They're great to take a look at. All right, so if you're doing a listing, I'm going to be working on a listing loop today. However, to keep everyone on the same track and seeing the same thing, I'm not going to select anything from here. I'm simply going to put in the property address here to name the loop and then click Create Loop on the bottom right. So that's all I want you to do, those two steps. Put in the property address to name the loop and simply click Create Loop. And in case I lost you, in order to start a new loop, you just click this big plus sign that you can see kind of grayed out behind my screen here to create a loop. All right, so I'm going to click Create Loop, pull the trigger here, and that pulls me into my loop. So when you come into your loop, there are three main sections that you want to keep an eye on. First of all, this top section is your documents section. And this is where you'll be spending most of your time in your loop. This document section is where you'll be pulling in forms, typing up your forms, and sending it to your client to electronically sign. So the document section is very important here, but if you scroll down, I just want to show you the other two main sections, and that is your people section at the bottom of your screen. So feel free to go ahead and scroll down to the very bottom of your loop to find the people section. This people section will show you anyone involved in this transaction. So once we add your clients will be viewed in this people section. And maybe you have the mortgage provider in your loop. You will always see yourself in the loop along with your Dotloop email address. Okay, so that's always important to note what your Dotloop email address is. And you'll also see your admin for your office always in your loop. Okay, that's totally fine. They need to be doing compliance on your loops, so you will always see them in there. And lastly, this task section on the very bottom. So I did mention that you can create to-do lists for yourself in each loop. Right? So if you have a listing and you want to create a to-do list that have things like put the listing in the MLS, put the sign in the yard, get the listing measured. Okay, all the different items that you need to do for your listing, you can create a to-do list and check things off. Okay, if your office does compliance on your loops, you might see task lists on the bottom as well, generated by your office, letting you know which forms you need to complete your loop. Okay, so let's scroll up to the very top of your screen now. So the question that we get a lot is, great, I created a loop, now what do I do? Okay, so the first thing that you'll want to do when starting in your loop is click View Details. On the very top of your screen, it'll be under the loop name, in this case the property address. You'll want to go ahead and click View Details. All right, so this is an important thing to click so I don't lose you for the next while in this class. All right, so go ahead and click View Details on the very top of your loop under the loop name or the property address. So just one more time, I'm clicking View Details, and that'll take me into the back end of this loop, per se. So what's cool about this section here, and let's scroll around to just take a look at what we're dealing with. Anything you enter into this back end, so this View Details section, anything you enter in here will automatically auto-populate onto every single form that you bring into this loop. So talk about a huge time saver. Okay, things like the property address, okay, the financial information. Okay, you can scroll down and look at all the different information that you can type in and have all of this auto-populate onto your forms. All right, so we're going to take a look at this in just a moment so we can practice with it. But for right now, let's scroll back to the very top of your screen and start from the top and work our way down. So first of all, where it says transaction type, and I'm on the very top of my screen, where it says transaction type, let's go ahead and click select transaction type to change that to listing for sale. Now once I click a transaction type, so I'm going to practice with the listing in today's class, so if you want to follow along, feel free to do the same. Once you select a transaction type, it will then give you the option to select a loop status. Okay, so you want to select a loop status, and we'll go ahead and mark this as an active listing. And on the right-hand side here, you'll see the loop name. Okay, I did mention that, if you're starting off and creating a loop and you name it by the buyer's name, you can always come in here and change the loop name easily to the property address once they find the home they'd like to make an offer on. So you can easily change the name of your loop right here on the top right. Okay, you can simply click to start typing. Okay, so people section. So the section right under it, this is where we want to go to add our clients to our loop who will be electronically signing. So let's go ahead and click Add Person on the top right in red. Okay, so I'm clicking Add Person on the top right in red, and I'm going to go ahead and put in my client's name. Okay, so there are three main things that you need when adding a person to your loop. Okay, you'll need their first and last name, email address, and their role. Okay, so go ahead and put in their first and last name. I'm going to go ahead and put in Hermione Granger for any Harry Potter fans. All right, and an email address. So if you want to go ahead and put in an email address, like a personal email address you have, so not your Dotloop email address, you can see what it looks like when clients receive a form to sign in Dotloop. Okay, so I would recommend, if you'd like, to go ahead and put in your personal email address. Again, not the email address associated with Dotloop. So you can see what it looks like when your clients receive a form. Okay, we have a first and last name, an email address, and third thing is we need a role. So let's go ahead and click the role option and select the seller. Okay, so the roles are super, super important if you want your clients to be able to electronically sign. Your clients will not be able to electronically sign forms if you do not select a role. So really important on that. So I'm going to go ahead and select seller from that list. Okay. Now this add to my team checkbox looks pretty tempting. Let's talk about that. So for this checkbox here, please make a note wherever you're taking notes. Never, ever, ever click this checkbox that says add to my team if you are adding your client to your loop. Okay. What this checkbox does is it would allow your client to see everything in your loop that you can see. Okay, we of course don't want that. Okay, the general concept of Dotloop is everything is private in your loop until shared. Okay, so we only want our clients to see forms in our loop that you share with them. Okay, this is a handy tool for certain reasons. So let's talk about when would you use this add to my team feature. So if you are working with an agent in your office on the same side of a transaction, okay, so let's say you're co-listing a property with another agent. So you're on the same side of the transaction. If I were to click on add to my team, it would put this loop in that agent's Dotloop account as well, and they would have all the same capabilities that you have. So it's basically being able to collaborate on this loop. All right, if you are on a team and you want your admin on your team to be able to see this loop in their account as well, that's another use for it. But again, main moral of this story is do not click this checkbox if this is for your client. All right, let's go ahead and click Add Person on the bottom right. All right, I do want you guys to note that if you were adding, let's say there's a spouse in this transaction and you needed to add a second person, you would of course go through that same those same steps that we just went through. Sometimes, however, you'll run into that a married couple, let's say, shares an email address. Unfortunately, they will not both be able to electronically sign with one email address. Okay, Dotloop identifies them as two different people with the two different email addresses. Okay, and there's no way around that, unfortunately. So you need to advise one of your clients to either get a free Gmail account. Okay, it's very easy to set up, or you would have to bring the form for them to sign. Hand sign. Okay, so again, they will need two separate email addresses to be able to electronically sign. All right, we now have our client in here with their email address and the role. So let's go ahead and make sure for your name, so you should see your name, your first and last name with you next to it, in case you weren't sure that was you. Kind of funny. And let's make sure to change where it says none, maybe, to the listing agent. Okay, again, I'm working on a listing right here for this example. But you would always want to give yourself a role, whether it be buying agent or listing agent here. Okay, really important. The roles are really important for electronic signatures. And let's scroll on down. All right, so we've now added our clients to the loop. Of course, if there are multiple parties that need to sign, you would just keep clicking Add Person to add those other people in. So let's scroll down slightly to get into the autofill section. All right, the first section we see here is the property address. Okay. Again, any information that we type in here in this autofill section will automatically display on every single form that you bring into this loop specifically. Okay, so the property address is one of those things that's going to be on probably every single form in this loop. So it's a huge time saver to go in and go ahead and put in the property address. So let's practice that, right? Just so you can see what it looks like when it auto-populates. So if you could go ahead and put in the property address for our practice loop here. Please note that the street number and the street name are two different fields. Gets people every time. And feel free to keep working on that. I know that wasn't a whole lot of time, so feel free to take your time on that. But if you are done, if you're a super fast typer, feel free to start scrolling around at all the other information that you can type in here. Right? So like financials, the sales price, the sales commission rate, contract dates, offer dates. Scrolling down to see all the different fields. Now the reason I'm so excited about this section, as a new agent especially, these forms that you're looking at are pretty overwhelming to know where the information goes on the form. Right? This is a great section for you to fill out if you are a new agent especially, because Dotloop knows where all the information is. So it straight up prompts you for the information it needs, and if that form requires any piece of this information, it will automatically put it on there for you. So talk about saving you some time, and you're saving a little treasure hunt here, right? Because Dotloop will do a lot of the work for you. So this is a very handy section here, this view details section, and I will review how we got in here, so don't worry about that. So again, if you could go ahead and finish putting in the property address here, and if you're done with that, let's scroll to the very top of your screen to click the Save option on this red toolbar. Okay, please don't forget to click Save on this red toolbar here. That pretty yellow bar will appear across the top that I love so much that tells you Save Successful, just to know all that work we just doesn't go to waste. Okay, I'm going to say it one more time. Make sure to click Save. Okay, it's the worst when you do so much information it doesn't save. I'm sure we've all experienced that. Like pull your hair out worthy. So once we click Save on the right-hand side, let's go ahead and click Back to Loop on the very top left of your screen here. So I clicked on Save on the top right, and I'm going to click Back to Loop on the left-hand side. And it will take me back to my main loop. Yeah, we spent quite a while in there, so if you have no idea where we just went to access all that, that would be at the very top of your loop, that View Details section. Okay, think of that as the back end of this loop. Okay, so that's where we want to go to add our clients in and fill in any property information to auto-populate and make your life a lot easier. Okay, so now we're ready to get going. Let's go ahead and work on adding a form to your loop and preparing the form to share it. So there should be a folder already displaying here. If you see this folder here and you do not see these blue boxes under it, you would just simply click Add Document on the right-hand side. However, if you see these blue boxes, you're good to go. That's what we want. All right, so this icon right here, this templates icon should look mighty familiar, right? That's where we started class, up on this black toolbar. On that templates icon, same icons. I'm just trying to tie this all back together for you guys. So we'll want to actually click on the first blue box that says Add an Interactive Form by selecting one from Templates. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Go ahead and click on the first blue box that says Templates in it. Again, this section should look a little familiar. Okay, this is where we were looking at all our templates when we were looking at our blank forms. On the left-hand side, you'll see a bunch of form sets in red. And you'll be able to scroll down. It gets missed all the time. There's a little gray scroll bar on the left-hand side, right-hand side, whatever. And you can click on that to scroll down to view all the different form sets. Again, don't be alarmed. Mine will look slightly different than yours. Okay, this is added in by your office staff. So go ahead and select a form set that you would like on the left-hand side in red. So whichever form set you would like to access. I'm going to bring in a listing agreement just for today's class as a practice. If you want to bring in a listing agreement as well, you can really bring in any form into your loop and it should work fine. So select whichever form set on the left-hand side that you would like. And let's use this red search bar at the top of your screen here to search for the form I'm looking for. So I'm going to click where it says search and type in the word listing to pull up the listing agreement. Once I type in the word listing on the search bar at the top of my screen, I'm going to simply click on the checkbox to the left of whichever form I'd like to bring into my loop. So go ahead and click on the checkbox on the left-hand side of the form I'd like to select. And go ahead and click copy, the red copy button on the very bottom right of this screen here. All right, I clicked on copy. It gives me this nice green check mark letting me know that this form has been pulled into my loop. So I can simply click OK on the bottom of this box to start working with that form right away. Okay, so once it brings it into my loop, okay, it's bolded since I haven't opened it yet. So all you're going to do to open this form is simply click on the form name to open that up right away. So go ahead and click on that form name to open that up right away. Okay, so when I click on that form name, it takes me right into the form so I can start editing it. Now the first thing that you should see is an autofill box that displays. Okay, that should pop up right away. We never want to click this X. This autofill box is super, super important for having your clients electronically sign it. Okay, so never click this X right here. So stay on your screen right here, but let me just show you what you would do if you did accidentally slip and hit this X. Okay, so don't do it. Just watch on my screen here. So if I were to ever accidentally X out of that box, just a heads up, it does say autofill on this top black toolbar here. So I can bring that autofill box right back up. So it's no big deal, but we do really want to autofill. This is our best friend. Okay, so starting off on this autofill box. So first of all, the roles. So since we labeled our client as seller, you'll see, or you should see, that your seller is listed as seller 1 for your client. Again, I can't stress how important it is to see your client's name listed as seller 1, or they will not be able to electronically sign. If you don't see their name, if it just says select person next to seller 1, no worries. You can simply click on where it says select person and select their name from that drop-down. If you don't even see their name from that drop-down, you can simply click add person to add that person in. So that's a handy thing to know if, let's say, you didn't know there was a spouse in this transaction and you need to add seller 2. You can come in here as well and click add person to add the spouse into the loop. Okay, there's multiple different ways to add people to the loop. So we have seller 1 as our client's name. And we have listing agent should be your name, okay? If you're working on a listing agreement, make sure you see your name under listing agent. You should see the property address information already populating in here, right? Because we did this in the view details section, already saving you time. Look at that. And if you scroll down, it'll have a bunch of other information that you can just start typing in, right? Again, this auto-populates onto your form. So this makes your life a little easier because it just prompts you for the information. You can type that in. And let's go ahead and scroll to the very bottom and click the red autofill button at the bottom of this box. Please make a note to never skip this step. We always want to click this autofill box on the bottom right, or your clients won't be able to electronically sign. I know I've said it like 5 times, sorry. Always good to know. Repetition is key in learning, right? So go ahead and click autofill on the bottom right. All right, this little black box will pop up telling me 2 roles have been assigned, 13 fields have been auto-filled. So let's take a look at what auto-filled fields will look like. So if you scroll up to the top of your screen, you might start to see some yellow boxes in here. All right, these yellow boxes indicate to you that these fields were auto-filled. Okay, so maybe the client's first and last name, the property address, there it is. Okay, it's yellow because it auto-filled in, so that's great. So it's already saving you some time here. But now, of course, we need to prepare the rest of the form because there will still be blank forms. Okay, the cool thing about Dotloop is it is very easy to start typing in your forms. So anywhere you see a text box, let's start with a text box. So if you simply click on a text box, it will turn the text box red and you can start typing it in it. Okay, it's as easy as that. You click a field, it turns red, so it indicates to you it's selected, so you can simply start typing. So text boxes are very easy. It's a simple click and type. If you want to scroll around on your form to find a checkbox, just to practice with it, you'll see how easy it is to simply click on a checkbox to check the check mark. Super simple. Love that, right? And if you look for any date fields, so if there's anywhere you're supposed to put a date in, let's say for an expiration date, right, you'll notice there's a little calendar icon in the text field where you can simply click on that field and a calendar will pop up. Right? So I can click on the expiration date. I can click the arrows on the top right to go forward and click an expiration date. Sorry, I simply click on the number of the date that I want to indicate and it populates in that date right in the field. Okay, so filling out the form is that easy. Click to start typing and check any check marks. Right, so it's pretty simple to start typing in your forms. Where it gets a little trickier is where you need to know some extra things is any initial fields or signature fields. So if you want to scroll on your form, and again, I know your form looks different. I'm on North Carolina forms, but the concept is still all the same. So if you want to find an initial field or a signature field on your form, you should notice, so for example, in this initials field right here, it has my client's initials. Okay. Now, if I were to print out this form, this field would be blank. Okay, so that's not showing me that the client has signed here. All that's showing me is that I set it up correctly so that the client can sign. Okay, if you only see the word seller in the box, in both boxes here, that means that that client will not be able to electronically sign. You have to be able to see that client's initials in the field for them to be able to electronically sign. Okay. If you don't, let's say you do just see seller for both of these fields, okay, that typically indicates that you may be X'd out of this autofill box. So all you would need to do is come up to autofill here. It's asking if I want to save it, so I'm going to go ahead and click yes. And you don't need to follow along unless you'd like to. All right, so I just need to pull back the autofill box up and make sure that seller 1 has my client's name. So you can see how important it is, right, to have your client's name as seller 1 so that they can electronically sign. And then we'll click autofill. Okay, so again, really important that we see our client's initials in the signature box or this initial box here. Okay, so let's take a look at what it looks like if a field is actually signed, so you can compare that. So if you're working on a listing agreement, there are probably places for you to sign as the listing agent. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click on one of those fields. That field would probably be an orangish red, okay, saying the listing agent needs to sign it. So when I click on that, I'm going to click Sign Now. Sign Now should pop up. So this is what it looks like when your clients go to electronically sign something. So the first time, and the first time only, that you or your client goes to electronically sign a form, it will pop up making sure that your signature is correct. So they have the option here to go ahead and change their initials, or you can as well if you want to sign with your middle name. You can also change your initials here. Okay, so on the top here, you're confirming your name and your initials, and your clients will have this opportunity as well. So feel free to alter that if you'd like to. You also have the option to draw your signature. Okay, I don't really advise drawing the signature unless you're on a tablet. Okay, or if you try and draw your signature on a computer, it kind of looks like a 5-year-old did it. It's really difficult. So I would just let Dotloop go ahead and do your signature. Make sure it all looks correct and click Adopt and Sign. All right, you'll see now that this is what it looks like when it's actually signed versus if it's just indicating that it's set up correctly, this HG with the client's initials. So you'll see when it's actually signed, the initials will be in cursive with a time and date stamp here. Okay, so that's great. So now if I scroll down to the next field that I need to sign, I can simply click on it and click Sign Now, and it'll pop in my initials without further review. So that's how easy it is to sign the document in Dotloop for you or your clients. Okay. So I'm going to show you in just a second here how you'll go about sharing the form, okay? Because the next step, once you prepare the entire form, you'll want to share it to your client to be able to electronically sign. Okay, but before I do that, I want to tell you one other thing to know. All right, so let's say again, your client doesn't feel comfortable with electronic signatures, but you want to type up the entire form because it looks more professional. Okay, so what you can do is you can do as we've done, type up the entire form so it looks more professional, and then you can simply come up to File on this top black toolbar and click to print the form. All right, so that way you can bring this listing agreement on your listing appointment and explain it paragraph by paragraph to your client, and then they can sign each page. Okay, so that is an option, just so you know, to file and print this off after you have typed up the form. You can also download the form from here, which will just save it to your computer, which is always good to have a backup. Okay, but generally what you'll want to do is now send this to your clients via email to be able to electronically sign. So let's go ahead and click this big red button on the very top right of your screen where it says Save and Share. I'm clicking Save and Share from the very top right, this big red button. And it'll bring up the sharing screen. All right, so this is showing you, okay, working down here, the document right here. This is showing you which document you will be sharing. Just to make sure you're not sharing the wrong document, you can always check that here. The next section shows you who has access. So if you can't remember if you already shared this form to your client, it would show you right here your client's name if it had been shared to them. You will always see your name and your admin's name in this who has access section here. But in this case, we'll want to add people. So this is good. We want to see our client's name with a checkbox. We see that client as my seller, and it has 11 fields assigned. So we always want to see that they have fields assigned. That indicates to me that I set it up correctly so that my client can sign. But of course, you can also add in a second person here. All right, and we'll take a look at this in just a second here. So on the very right side, you'll see that my client can sign. So let's go ahead and click on that little drop-down box to just view the other options, the other sharing options. Now this can sign option is the most popular way that you'll share it with your clients. Okay, this makes it so all your clients can do is sign the form. Okay, you don't typically want your client to be able to type in the form, right? You don't want them to be able to change things like your commission rate, right? we only want them to sign for what you filled out, right? So typically you'll share it as can sign. But there are these other options here that really come in handy, and let's take a look at why. So view only. So if you, let's say, are representing a younger couple and they want their parents to take a look at the forms they're signing, you can also add mom into the loop, her email address, and add her as view only. Okay, so that is an option here. You can add the mom or dad, to be able to view the forms. Also, it comes in handy if you are sharing this to, let's say, your mortgage provider. If your mortgage provider needs to see the fully executed offer to purchase, you can share that with them from here as view only. All right, other options. So that was the view only. Again, can sign is the most popular. Can fill and sign. So when you'll want to use can fill and sign is on things like the property disclosures. So your client is the one who knows about the property, okay, maybe the age of the roof or the age of the HVAC. So your client needs to be able to fill in the form and then sign it. Okay, so that's a great way to send over the property disclosures. And lastly, can edit in private. Okay, so if you are sending this to an agent on the other side of the transaction, let's say you're sending that other agent an offer, if you share it as can edit in private, that will give that agent on the other side the ability to counter offer. So they'll be able to make edits to your offer to purchase to counter, okay? And of course, if they make edits to an offer to purchase that your clients have already signed, it will automatically wipe out your client's initials because they didn't sign for those changes. So don't worry about that. But it will give that agent on the other side the ability to make a counter offer and have their clients electronically sign it. All right, if you ever forget, because I know that was quite the spiel there, if you ever forget what I said, you'll notice if I hover over any of these options, it does pop up a little black speech bubble that tells you basically what I just said. And so no worries in trying to stuff all that in your brain. I know this is a lot of information. All right, so now I'm going to simply leave it as can sign and go ahead and click share. Especially if you put your client in as your personal email address, go ahead and click share. So it'll send it over to your email address and you can see what it looks like from a client view. All right, I click share. It shows me this document has been shared and it's now waiting on others to sign. So now my client can go into their email account, open the form up, and they can start, it'll say start signing and it'll simply take them to each field to electronically sign. Makes it very easy for your clients. All right, guys, that was the Dotloop 101 class. Again, this was on all the basic concepts of Dotloop. If you do want to go ahead and watch the Dotloop 201 class, that can be viewed on our website on scottleroymarketing.com or slmtraining.com is our YouTube channel. And I'll go ahead and put up those training classes after I sign off here. So if you have any questions at all, of course, feel free to email us at support@scottleroymarketing.com, and I'm happy to help out. All right, guys, enjoy your day and happy looping.